the real reason I'm excited about Cislunar space is because it's so near Earth and near term. These are developments that can happen over a 5-year time frame, a 10-year time frame, a 15-year time frame. The key thing really is the transportation, and going along with transportation is fuel. I'm very much an advocate of the president's outlined space program where he said, look, we've got these technologies that are close to being ready. Let's work those up to technology readiness level so that we can deploy them and the industry can use them to start, doing industry and commerce in cislunar space. It's not something that needs a whole lot of work, but it needs some. And in my view, NASA is ideally positioned as an institution, given its NACA heritage, to assist in that process. I've never really regarded it as NASA's role to make it happen. I regard it as NASA's role to help America make it happen. And that's how I kind of view it. And I know for a lot of other folks, they see NASA as the one that makes it happen. And it's because NASA does it that it's important and all of that. But, for me, I didn't really grow up as a space advocate. It wasn't until 1999 that I started getting involved with space stuff. My background is finance and banking and industry and commerce and people doing trade and business with one another. And that's really what's important. The business of America is business. And that's so fundamentally true because it taps into human relations and the betterment of our society and creating value and all of these things that are so important for humanity. And it's really the commercial side of it that interests me. And NASA can help make that happen, but I don't think NASA is the one that will make it happen. They will be a partner in making it happen in the future. And so I liked when the president outlined, let's get these technologies developed and deployed and working for us, so that we can be the market leader in these space activities. And it's something I try to point out when I'm doing education and outreach, is that space is an industry with high barriers to entry, very high barriers to entry, almost unbelievably high barriers to entry, and we are over those barriers. So are a couple other folks, mainly national governments, but that's diffusing out to more and more people getting access to that stuff and developing it and making it happen. And it's private industry, and it's people going to space for their own reasons. And you hear people asking, so, what are you going to do in space? Well, why am I going to tell you my business plan? Your lack of imagination is not my problem. I'm going out to space, and I've got business ideas and things that I want to make happen, and, I don't care if you disagree with me, just don't get in my way, is all I ask. And I've had lots of entrepreneurial ideas over the years. One of my earliest ones was vacuum spheres. And I worked this out with the guys at Paragon Space Development Corporation. You take a hollow glass tube, and I was going to run this on the gas can in the shuttle payload. So you'd put the equipment in the gas can. Once you were up on orbit, you'd vent it and open up the gas can. And these hollow tubes, you would have heated collars on them. And these would pinch off the glass tube, leaving a sphere between the heated collars. And these spheres would be filled with nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so, depending on the machinery and equipment, you could produce a certain number of those. The idea was that I would auction off the first one on eBay just to see what the market was. But I regarded it as a perfect capitalist product because you're selling nothing for a fair price. It's, and there are other applications that could spin off from that as well. I had another idea where I would go and buy up the experiment packages that people had flown on the shuttle and in the Space Lab and Space Hab, and I would refurbish the equipment and then lease it out to other scientists. The idea being that we could accelerate the research process because the scientists, they come up with what they want to research, and then they got to spend all this time designing the black box with one push button for the astronaut that's going to run their experiment for them. Well, I mean, if someone's already done something similar, why not just lease that and use that, and you can run your science much more quickly and effectively. And I thought, wow, this is going to be a great idea. I got to keep quiet about it because if someone else finds out, they're going to start buying up the equipment and paying more than I can afford to pay. And the roadblock that I ran into was that as part of a NASA Academy trip to Kennedy, we talked to the guys that actually processed the payloads for the shuttle. And I asked them the question, okay, if I have an experiment box that has flown previously, it's already gone through your vetting process, and I lease it out to a guy that wants to run a different experiment, given that the box has already been vetted by your organization, would that accelerate the process the second time? And what they said was, if anything is different, anything from the first experiment, then it has to start at square one and go through the whole vetting process again, because you may be working with different materials, you may be working with different timing on the processes. They want to make sure. And if the whole point is to accelerate the research process, that effectively eliminates that possibility. Now, could it happen that once Bigelow has their facilities on orbit, someone might go around, buy up these black boxes and lease them out? It's possible, but from what I understand, they haven't settled on the technical standards for the payload racks. They're looking at what's called the ISPR, International Standard Payload Rack standard, which is what the space station and the shuttle use, but it's not established that that's what the Bigelows are going to use. And if they're using different equipment, it may not be easily adaptable. So yeah, I've pretty much given up on that idea. I still like the space spheres idea, though. I think that would be a fun one, selling nothing for a fair price.